sitting down carefully involves settling, relaxing, and respecting. Settling, relaxing, and respecting. Maybe if anybody taking notes, that you might want to note that when we sit down, generally it's because we've been standing and we need to relax. We need to relax our legs, we need to relax the lower part of our body by allowing the chair to support us. Isn't that so? And so we're tired of standing, and so we want to sit. And so we relax our grasp of our muscles, of our lower muscles. Relax our lower muscles and allow the chair to support us. And what was the next one? No, that was the third one. Settling. We settle by allowing the energy which has been in the lower part of our body, which is somewhat connected to fear and flight responses, that we tend to accumulate anger and dysfunctional lower energies are very often associated with that root chakra, which really, anytime you sit, should be at rest. We should settle into a more skillful way of being, which is we're not lying down, we're sitting down, which means that our upper body is more active and the lower body has nothing to do. You know, when you think about sitting, that we never think about it, we just plop ourselves down, huh? But in this way, when we think of sitting down by settling and relaxing the tension in our legs and feet, and in our root chakra, that we gain more awareness in our upper body, and the heart center, the throat, can become more skillful. And lastly, and so that means that we sit down, and then we sit down again by settling. And this settling, for those many of you who may be working in the computer a lot, or you're working at an office desk, or you're sitting down and watching some tense thing on television, or you're sitting at a meal, but you're not settled. And that has become the normal way that you operate, that the lower body is still fully active. The anger and delusions, which are often associated with that root chakra, are still fully activated. Have you ever seen people sitting down and their legs are bouncing up and down?
Yeah.
And they can't stay still, and they're so restless. This is because that you have been trained how to bend your butt and sit, but you never learned how to sit down, relax, and settle.
There's a medical term for that.
What is that?
Restless leg syndrome, but I think it might be more of a medical word, but that's a definite medical diagnosis.
Yes, well, anything can have a diagnosis. You know, the medical diagnosis books are filling up, but where are all the healthy people to accompany that? Anyway, thank you. And the last part is self-respect. And this is a special way that we sit when we are going to sit to listen to Dharma teaching, when we are going to when we are going to sit for meditation. And that means that I am not the one I think I am. This is a greater, not a greater, but this is an emerging me that is allowed to sit. So that means that we don't sit with our ordinary mind and bring all of our delusions and all of our too much excitement and busy mind, that we respect ourselves enough to be more present so that we can actually accomplish why we are sitting down for meditation or for listening to a Dharma teaching. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Since we have a little bit of time today, rather than jumping into our subject in the car, where are you, Deja? There you go. I was talking about something I wrote the other day that I have spoken briefly about from time to time, and it's what I call touchstone therapy. Touchstone therapy, and this is a you don't have internet here, huh? You have internet?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Okay, anyway, all right, doesn't matter. You got it?
I have it.
On her phone. Do you have your phone? Oh, see, by the way, does everyone have their phones turned off? Yeah. Very good. This okay, Siri. I'm gonna do it from memory, okay?
I still need to turn my phone off.
Oh. I think you were the one that said to turn them off?
I know.
Uh-oh.
I said someone else.
Busted
remind me.
again.
I know, I'm sure.
Anyway, touchstone therapy is healing through finding, through rediscovering earlier relationships, okay? And this, there are three particular kinds of touchstone therapy that I'm thinking about. The first one is meeting someone that you haven't seen, locating someone, or reconnecting with someone that you haven't seen for a very long time, and someone that you had important shared experiences with, who hold another perspective of that shared experience. So for example, this morning, Dachin and I passed one of her neighbors, and they waved to each other, and Dachin said, you know, I grew up with that fellow. He was my best friend when I was a child, and then of course she was gone for many years, etc., etc. And aside from their relationship, this bears nothing to the discussion. But for example, what if she and her friend, when they were children, decided to run away from home together? And so packing their little suitcases and lunch and a piggy bank, that they set off, and about a mile down the road, they decided that that wasn't what they wanted to do at all, that they were tired, and so they ate their sandwiches and went back home. Huh? And so reconnecting, that they are able, don't everybody do?
Lopes, I want to answer the door. Please.
Yes, good. So, reconnecting in this way, that you hear their perspective, how they felt or what memories of that, remembering things that you had forgotten. And in that way, that person becomes a kind of touchstone to help you stabilize and reconnect your balance, to get your balance back. Another kind of touchstone is when you, for example, when you had a favorite object, let's say some small object, maybe a piece of jewelry that was given to you by someone special. And over time, it just disappeared. You know, I don't know where these things go. There must be a heck of a pile of these things somewhere. Pocket knives and jewelry and trinkets and maybe little things that you find in Cracker Jacks. All these important things that you have. And you, rummaging through a drawer one day, you find it and you grasp it and hold it over your head. Aha! It has come back to me. And you hold that. And you hold that in your hand. And this becomes like a personal sacred object. And you feel that something that was gone has now returned to you, and you feel somehow settled and relaxed again. This is a touchstone object. What was the third one? Does anyone know? Oh, yes. Many people move away from the home that they were raised in. And perhaps even that home, their parents sold the home. Maybe you tell the story, Sarah. Because we were talking about this on the way down.
I was sharing with her, and another Sangha sister had just moved to South Carolina, and her children, though grown college students, she was disappointed that her daughter was gonna stay out at college over the summer. I said, you realize you moved away from the family home, and this new home is your home. Their mother and father's home, but it will never be their home. The family home that they grew up in will always be at that location. And though they'll celebrate Christmases and holidays at this new location, it will never be a touchstone for them, because all their touchstones is in their home. So, like that.
And what you were saying about your parents' home,
Yeah,
where you grew up.
where I grew up, so Rinpoche asked me about that, and I said, well, it happened about 24, and I said, Rinpoche, there's trees and objects around the house that I will still occasionally go check on and see how they've changed, and is that favorite branch still there, and how does the house look? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
Rinpoche?
yes.
Yeah, so that.
And that's where part of your heart remains, in that home, that you felt stable and happy, and you felt real there. And sometimes, no matter how far away you live, that you need to go home and reconnect with a certain part of yourself, a certain kind of energy that is contained in that relationship with that touchstone place. So we have people, objects, and places which can be touchstones for us. And in this way, even though we might visit home, we don't have to stay home. We just need to reconnect before we set off again. Isn't that so? And so the therapeutic aspect is stabilizing and balancing, so that we can remember who we are. So this is not anything to do with ultimate reality. It's not anything to do with wisdom. This has to do with feeling okay enough to be able to do the things that we need to do. So like that, yes.
Rinpoche, I was taking it a step interior, and I don't know if that's okay, but would you have the similar but different touchstones possibility?
I'm not going to discuss about
Okay.
that. I really think it's more valuable. The places where people are need to stabilize and settle. Talking about settling this morning, that you need to settle. This is the kind of settling where you feel okay. There's nothing that's dragging you here. You can settle easily. And those are the issues that prevent you from going to that interior kind of settling, all right? And so it's more important to think about these outer touchstones that we need to have the healing. Yes, sir.
I have a problem understanding the word touchstone. Can someone just give me a definition of what a touchstone is?
Maybe somebody else. What is a touchstone?
It's just like a memory marker. So, I think of them as road markers, so here's a marker,
Well,
memory marker.
the childhood friend, your childhood friends, Calvin, that you grew up with, that you may not see for a long time, but then again, all of a sudden you go through your village and you see some of them, they're touchstones
Memory markers.
to your past, memories of playing together that was joyful out in the sun. All of a sudden, all these memories start coming back, and Rinpoche would say that then
So
those help stabilize.
At that moment, they're touchstones.
So like reference points,
Yes.
a reference point.
No, but it has to be something. Yes, what did you want to say?
I think it's everything we touch or where we are, we leave an imprint, like people that do psychometry, all they do is pick up a piece of jewelry or toothbrush and they get this hole. So we leave an imprint of wherever, and I think a piece of you, your soul, your personality, your astral part of you is still there perhaps, because psychics can go and they can see the whole picture of that whole event. So I wonder, a piece of you maybe is wherever you touched or where, or whether it's a person or a tree or a house or.
Then your whole house should be a touchstone.
Yeah.
But it's not, it makes you nervous as heck sometimes.
Some places you.
Especially the dirty dishes in the
Don't
sink.
want-
Those are not touchstones, no way.
That's bad feng shui.
Over here.
I think that there is a healing with the term touchstone.
Yes, that's true, that's true.
And so that the memory, while it might have been traumatic, when you go back to it, it is rich. And you have a different,
Perspective,
perspective.
very good. Dachin,
I'm
last
just
minute.
thinking how you could think about it, it probably got its name from people who would take a stone from some place that was important to them, and they
Yes.
put it in their pocket.
Yes, like that.
And then
like
they
that.
always remember that
Yeah,
place.
and if you needed to stabilize, you could always grab that
Mhm.
touchstone, you'd feel okay. It's not that the touchstone itself, it has any magical qualities, or even contains my essence or anything, I don't see it in quite that way, but it may be different for you. You understand now, a little bit better?
Yeah, I can't think of any concept
They
in
don't talk, they
German.
don't think that way.
I was going to ask you about it because I translated it, but I know.
How did it translate
I
back?
I looked in the dictionary and it said something that didn't make too much sense to me. No, I chose one of the options, but it's still, I thought that can't quite be it. So I was going to ask you.
Some things just don't work like that.
It was more like a test, the way it said it in German was more like a test of, a test stone, like
Oh.
where you're testing whether something is good or not.
I see,
Like a-
well,
like
that's
a-
interesting.
like a
No, I
quality-
believe that would
quality,
be, that would be,
thing.
yeah, yeah. I think that's like a benchmark, but anyway, like that.
Yeah.
Words, yeah, but translation, it's important, yes, dear.
It brought up the memory, it's I don't know a lot about it, but a Jewish custom to pick up a stone and put it on top of a grave. So
Oh.
it kind of made, I'm not sure, but I'm just seeing the touching and the stone, it may not be a direct relationship, but it was kind of interesting gesture.
That wasn't the direction I meant, but,
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, maybe you think about it, and maybe you think it's sometimes this kind of high nervousness that many people get is a kind of feeling of disconnection from, grounding, that's the word. Touchstone is grounding, yes. So it's a grounding stone. And suddenly, unresolved things feel okay, and they come to conclusion, and you feel balanced again. So, let's go on. And today's topic is Tibetan Wisdom for America. It's like that. That's pretty ostentatious of me, and I wrote that too. But I think it's important. That as spirituality through Buddhism becomes worldwide, that we have many different forms of Buddhism, which are either like spice or tainted, I don't know which way we're going to say, with cultural context. Huh? And so in response to that, many people say, well, we don't want these other culture tainted forms of spirituality in Buddhism, we want to have our own, which of course is even more tainted than the possibility of others, because we get to bring all our own stuff to it. And in that way, that the opportunity to hear what cultures who have percolated their culture through I was thinking like a river bottom, we were talking about that the other day, how the water is filtered and percolated through these various layers of sand, etc., to get back to the water table that's really clean. And so culture percolated through Buddhism returns to a very clean source of wisdom. Hmm? And so my thoughts regarding, and so let me say it this way. And so Tibetan culture Tibetan culture has worked on this for well over 1,000 years. So anyway, our entire world of people, animals, insects, and all other living creatures as well as plants in this world live in a symbiotic relationship, isn't that so? That literally we depend upon this symbiotic relationship for our life. All the way down to bacteria, beneficial bacteria that we need for digestion, and molds, things we're so scared of behind our wallpaper. We actually need molds to dispose of waste properly, isn't that so? And if we didn't already feel this interdependent relationship that we have with all other creatures, living creatures in this world, before, if we hadn't given it thought, I mean, people recycle, etc. You have many people have a superficial understanding of interdependence, but not these recent tragedies in Japan have given a big wake-up call to all of us to see how the interdependent actions of others affect the fish and the water and the air, and us, who are living here in the Midwest, are still in that symbiotic relationship with what happened halfway across the world. Huh? And so our respect for this symbiotic relationship, for most people who are emerging from a kind of, this is our community, this is our state, this is my family thinking, have come into this larger relationship with a great deal of distress, unprepared for how to think about the world in this interdependent relationship, which has come crashing down on our head. And so this interdependence, which is a fact of, I'm going to say, more skillful education, more skillful understanding, is something that eludes us because of our demands on and our own grasping and clinging to what is near and dear. We can't see over the wall because we still are so, this sounds exactly like monks chanting. I love this place. And this interdependence in the context which we are expected to step from our own problems into this interdependent problems of the world, that the reaction of most people is a great deal of fear and anxiety. And that's sort of where we're at this point. Huh? However, this is not the problem. This is not to blame. We cannot blame interdependence for this problem. And in fact, people of this world should have come into technology with a higher awareness of interdependence, etc. I'm not going to go on. So, my question to you is, what prevents us from understanding this interdependence? Many, many different reasons. What would you like to say? What prevents us from understanding this symbiotic relationship that we have with all, now I'm not talking about inner life or spirituality at all. What prevents us from understanding interdependence? Yes?
From just our food source, we go to the grocery store and get our food, so we don't understand the seasons of food anymore even.
Very good. That we have a strong relationship with our source of food. Starbucks. This is a source of our food. I've read stories about people bringing their children to a farm, and they can't see the relationship between the grocery store and the products grown on the farm. That it doesn't make sense. There was a link that had never been taught in children, and let's say there may be a link that has been lost in most adults. So our relationship with our food, that was what you were saying, right? Our relationship with our food has become a source of dependence on lines of supply. Sort of like a secret society. They have these secret societies where nobody knows anybody. You only know one other person, right? So you don't actually know this larger situation of what might be going on in this. Where are all these secret societies anyway? That's why they're secret. This larger context has become lost. Why? Why? Because we're so busy. We're so busy, we can't take time to think about the real source of our food. Yeah? How many of us have gardens? Huh? How many have vegetable gardens? There we go, same hands up. We're talking about food, so that's right. That I know that the food that is grown in our garden at the Hermitage has a very special meaning to us. That people come in, and we may have store-bought tomatoes or tomatoes from a local farm. And they'll come in with tomatoes, like 5 tomatoes, and say, these 2 were from our garden. Like that. And so even though we know, by extrapolation, we can figure out that they probably came from a tomato farm, those other ones, that our tomatoes have some holy qualities to them. I'm going to eat one of my tomatoes today. And so this sense of connectedness, because you went out there and weeded it, and you took care of those tomatoes, and this is the product, that sense of direct involvement with food brings us to a different way of relating to our food. And have you noticed that food from your own garden tastes better?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
No pesticides.
Because you planted the pesticides.
Processing.
Processing time, no pesticides?
Love.
Yes,
You planted it.
you planted it.
I mean, you put your love and your feeling into it or whatever.
That's right, maybe prayed over it, yes. By the way, I went to our local farmer's market. They love me. They see me coming because we have so many people at the Hermitage, that when they come, they sort of like, hello. And this Hmong farmer, who beautiful, elegant presentation of his vegetables like that. And he and his family come, and they're very polite, and they know him. They're all clean and beautiful. And I went to him and I looked at the vegetables, and I noticed from my inner eye that these were not like the vegetables that other people had. And I went over and I said to him, I says, you pray in the fields, don't you? And he looked around like, yes, I do. And this is a feature of their culture, to create an environment where their vegetables are products of their prayer juices also. But those weren't the answers I was looking for. Why does it taste better?
Oh, never mind, I was on for the next thing.
Why does it taste better? It's here.
I just think you're more present.
What makes it taste better?
You're more present
You're more present.
with it, meaning you watch it grow, you plant it, you watch it grow.
That's right, that's what she was saying.
Yeah.
So you're more with it. How's on,
I-
how's on nose?
No, I hope so.
Yeah.
I think if I buy a tomato, it's, you know, $1 or something from a farmer's market or from a grocery store. And I think if you do the work yourself, you have a much stronger sense of appreciation.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit more. What is this stronger sense based on? That's what I wanna hear. What makes it
Under-
taste better?
Understanding the amount.
No,
The connection.
Who connects and
no,
Your relationship with the.
Stumped.
lots of good answers, but lots of whatever, yes.
I think it's more about perspective and expectation. I have that.
That's getting closer, that's getting closer. What else? What is there? There's only one answer to why it tastes better.
It's yours.
What makes it taste better?
It's yours.
No, could be, you're very close, you're dancing all around the answer. Your perceptions. Your perceptions are the only thing that makes it taste better. And so all of the things that you've been talking about are kinds of perceptions, but if we go right to the middle and say my food tastes better from my garden because my perceptions are telling me so, are telling me so. You know, there are many people, mostly ladies, but men too, who are very good at sewing, you know. And yet, everything in the fashion industry encourages you not to sew. Isn't that so? That you are expected to buy their label, not just anybody's label, but their label, because then you will be a quality person. You will be a quality person wearing that clothing with that label, huh? And so you go out and buy fabric and you sew it, and you have a certain degree of pride, but it's not like having so-and-so's dress on your back, or trousers or whatever. And in that way, your perceptions that work great for the tomatoes from your garden don't work so well when you have to make your own clothes, huh? Because your body shape is different, or because you don't have enough money to buy that brand of clothing. So you have to make your own clothes, and you feel okay about it, but your perceptions work against you, and you don't carry yourself with the pride of your sewing that you do with the pride of the products of your garden. Anyway, these things work both ways, huh? But both are products, both produce, those perceptions produce the attitudes, okay? So, this, what prevents us from, going back to our question now, what prevents us from understanding this interdependence? Many, many answers. Yes, dear.
I was gonna say greed.
Greed. Greed and
Mhm.
self-serving
Yes, exactly.
greed.
Yeah.
And say more, please.
Well, I'm just saying greed and selfishness because you just, you wanna grab, or you have a sense of, that also gets into a sense of, I can't remember the word, like people that wanna grab things and take things from other people have a
Yes.
sense of, there's not enough to go around.
I see, I see.
And then there's other people that have a sense that there's plenty.
There's plenty for
If
everyone.
everybody just does their thing.
Yes, very good, very good. So what prevents us from understanding interdependence, that although we might not be, Saddam Hussein or someone who's really doing what we consider really terrible things, invading other countries, that in fact, we all carry the seeds of selfishness just waiting to be watered. I mean, just show us a pie that is cut into 6 unequal pieces. All right. There you go, I may not need to say any more. And so, this interdependence, this lack of understanding interdependence, will cause us to consider that our needs are more important than the needs of others. All right? So this is that particular slice we have addressed here. What else prevents us from understanding interdependence? Yes, dear.
I think that in the West, we don't see ourselves as part of nature. We see ourselves as like controlling nature, or I used to edit for a Parks and Recreation journal, and park rangers would say the problem with people destroying the, like walking off the trails or whatever, is that they don't see that they're part of nature.
Yes, yes. And so these many Western traditions are based upon being proprietors and users of this world, rather than guardians and caretakers of this world. So this very much, and you know, those people who are who feel this strongly, in order to counterbalance the lack of understanding of interdependence regarding our relationship with nature, that some people go way over here in order to counteract the people who are way over here not doing anything about it, so that the people in the middle, at least the activists, are pulling the people in the middle toward them rather than the decay of uncaring and destruction. Huh? And yet, those who are strong activists, you know, are even today they call tree huggers and are considered to be on the weird fringe of society. And I imagine that park rangers are not on the weird fringe of society by the fact they have a uniform and a salary. Right? Like that. So, this interdependence, I'm going to say, is a fault of scientific inquiry. You know, scientific inquiry is a whole lot of very specific studies regarding, for example, the relationship between an ant and its house, like that. And large numbers of people are down on their tummies, being paid to watch how ants build their houses, etc. And a person 50 feet away is discovering how moose eat the bark off trees. Of course, these have larger ramifications, but they don't care. They're only interested in the relationship between the moose and the bark on the tree. And so on and so on. So you have 100, 200, 100,000 scientists, each studying a particular tiny aspect. But where are the synthesizers of this science? Where are the synthesizers? I tell you, there's no money in synthesizing science. Yes, dear.
What do you mean by synthesis?
People who are seeing a more holistic view of the aspects of science. And which are the more important? Who decides what is more important than another aspect of science? And so the ones who are better funded make the more noise, and so those are the parts of science we get to hear about. Or, you know, I was reading this morning, people always bringing up Schrodinger's cat, like that. This is so annoying. Does anyone know the theory of Schrodinger's cat? Okay, it's a quantum mechanical view about superpositions, etc., etc. It's a little bit of an interest for me, and string theory, etc., because this is tending toward understanding the nature of reality, but they're so far away. Anyway, that I keep watching. Now they want to take a bacteria and try to force a living bacteria, into a superposition, which is both alive and dead at the same time. No, they're not going to kill a bacteria, don't worry. But Schrodinger's cat is an analogy for a superposition of I believe a proton or some small particle that is both there and not there at the same time, depending upon the observer. No one would give a hoot about Schrodinger's cat unless it said cat.
Oh, yeah.
Because the cat is either dead or alive. No, don't really talking about dead kitty cats?
Yeah.
And so it goes on because it's kind of a buzz thing. And I said, this bothers me. The person who was talking about this, I said, this bothers me. Because maybe you're not interested, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That the densification of taking a theory, which is a quantum theory, and applying it to a denser vibrational level of manifestation, such as cats or bacteria, is foolish because the mechanics. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, I'm going to say that you're moving from quantum life. You're moving from quantum life to Newtonian life. Oh boy, isn't that a? Wow, I can see everybody doing that. Newtonian mechanicals are based upon the quantum level which we live at. We live in a Newtonian existence with physical dense bodies where gravity acts a certain way and water flows down and our bodies are capable of certain things, but we are not capable of superposition. And neither is a bacteria, neither was Schrodinger's cat. The cat cannot be there and not there at the same time. Most people think they're talking about cats. However, like that, we think of quantum as being a lesser or a more subtle form of life, isn't that so? However, reality at various levels of reality are all quantum shifts in awareness, which is the energy of the superposition. Oh, forget it, I'm gonna go on. This is more. And so reality also has another kind of physics, and that's my point I was on for. Reality has another kind of physics. Human realm has a certain kind of physics, which is described poorly but okay by Newton, and quantum mechanics is still playing tinker toy quantum theories. I was so excited. One of my students was studying physics and quite good at it, and I said, "Great, where is it? Where is this 11-dimensional reality?" And he said, "Oh, Rinpoche, this is all on paper. This is a theory. Nobody can actually go there." So, interdependence. We could talk about quantum reality. We could talk about realities of other ways of being, such as higher reality, more subtle awareness realms, etc. But if we just look at the interdependence and our lack of understanding of the interdependence with what we've got, how the heck are we going to understand our interdependence with quantum reality? And then we would be capable, but if we could, we would be capable of producing, this is the holy grail of physics, the theory of everything. Schrodinger's cat and the theory of everything, okay? I'm just joking. And this theory of everything was what Einstein was working on just before he passed away. And it's been worked on steadily so far. No one has been able to come up with this a balance between quantum life and the denser lives, etc. Huh? So we need to, as a human race, we need to arise in a sense of ordinary interdependence and events such as the tragedies in Japan and other difficulties are our way from a distance, our way of understanding that in fact what others do affects us, and more importantly, what we do affects others, all right? And it doesn't have to do with being more green, doesn't have to do with being a good citizen, although these seem to be good side effects, that in fact our real issue is how to see ourselves as in a symbiotic relationship within the realm we live in, okay? Yes,
Just a quick mention of our culture and our upbringing, where the goal is to become independent, and you're successful if you're independent. And I think
that's right.
that works
So,
against that interdependence.
very good point. That the cultivated position of independence means, absolutely means, that you are different from others. You are separate and different from others. Is there any other meaning? That you are expected to stand on your own 2 or 8 feet, whatever. I just joking. Your own 2 feet. And that you are not expected to lean on others. These are all important. Yes, dear.
Well, that is one definition of independence.
Yes.
Another definition would be wholeness.
Independence is wholeness.
Independence can be wholeness. Independent can be symbiotic,
Yes.
which you have come unto your own sense of self. And that can be a definition of independence as well, I think.
Perhaps what I'm hearing you say is that you become a functioning member of society as a skillful unit called the person. That you fit into society as a skillful individual.
That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm talking more about, the integration of the spiritual and the physical, and that would be independent as well.
I see.
If independence, the definition of that would be wholeness.
All right. I'll think about that some more.
Well, if you're not scattered, sometimes if you're not whole
Or gathered.
you're just like everywhere, which is okay, but
Yeah.
then where are, you need that, like you said, the grounding.
That's right.
Which the dependence is grounding, maybe then you can engulf the rest, but
Yes.
first,
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry, finish what you're saying.
yeah, that's,
Yeah, at the back.
Yeah, I think there might be an importance in the notion of independence when you're a part of a system that's dysfunctional in ways. And that, there's, sometimes you don't know why you're necessarily breaking away. And I think that we have a long history of this,
That's
of
true.
rebellion.
That's true. But I don't think that's what Makatashi was talking about. You want to say it again?
I'm just thinking about the cultural view, the mainstream cultural view, when you're raised that you've got to kind of stand on your own 2 feet. By the time, this is changing now, but, by the time you're 18, you're either in college or you've got a job and you're on your own.
Yes.
And that's a sign of being successful, that you are independent and you can do this on your own.
Because, and remember, the question is, what prevents us from understanding in interdependence? Excessive isolation of individuality can cause a lack of understanding of interdependence, okay? So even though there are many other important views regarding individuality, if we go too far over there, then we lose our point and isn't that important like that. So, yes, dear?
Just thinking about your original question about what stands in the way and about what you said last night about using non-thinking criteria to find the truth. I think how often do we stop and just even think about it? And
So what
you
what
kind of mentioned, like busyness and just self-absorption and, how often do we just stop and get in touch with the truth of what we really know,
I
which
see
is.
what you're saying.
Okay.
Very good. Yes, dear.
Maybe I was thinking when she said that, kind of the idea, instead of coming from the head, come from the heart. So if your reason we don't see the interdependence is because we come from the head.
More head-centered, more mechanical thinking like that. I'm gonna go on, because we got so much more here. So, now this might be a little more difficult, but maybe not. What pressures this harmonic relationship? not just what prevents us from understanding interdependence, but if we consider this interdependence in the way that I'm talking about, the symbiotic relationship, that not only do we feel like we are totally prevented from understanding, but in a lot of ways we feel daily pressures of different kinds or whatever, occasional pressures for us to, that this harmonic relationship, like a standing wave, this relationship is very delicate, like a chord or a tonal chord. This beautiful balance, not just of birds and insects and us, but there is something behind this birds, insects and us, which is the alive part of us and them and the world. And I'm not talking about Gaia, and I'm not talking about, anything psychic at all. I'm just saying that there's something which we can feel from our feeling place, which connects to this feeling place of this environment. And this relationship, what are the pressures on this relationship?
Time, a false feeling of time, and that, you don't have so much time to do this or do that or do that, so you're not allowing yourself to open up and kind of step aside and, let the time take care of itself, sort of, instead of worrying
Yes.
about it.
So your own pressure, there's other things that you can do. You don't have time to be thinking all about this drivel of interdependence like that. Let the birds take care of themselves, I gotta take care. I got too much to do, let them sing. Have you ever noticed when you're really busy that you can't hear the birds sing? I find that really distressing. Why, I don't know, but it's particularly distressing in the springtime. And I get so caught into another way of that, and then I relax, and suddenly the birds return. Where did they go? Like that. And so very good. What else puts pressure, Deja?
Along that line is the fast pace of everything, moving too fast in cars and everything moving too fast so that you're overstimulated and you don't have a chance to settle, like what you were saying when we sit down.
So not only our personal time pressures, but just the busyness of everything around us, not just what we're doing, but what the world is, how the world is whizzing by like that. I have to tell you this because again, we're going back to perceptions. That for those of you who know me, that I haven't been here a long, long time like that, but I'm okay. And when I first came, that many of my perceptions were still rooted in my Tibetan perceptions. And I also lived in a very, very quiet environment, and in my childhood, things didn't move very fast. I lived in another culture, etc. And when I came here, that I was suddenly introduced to the speed of Western life, and I would get very dizzy riding in a car because the trees were whizzing by me, and I'm going, ugh, like this. Things were moving past me at a rocket ship speed, and I would start to feel quite ill, and I would have to do prayers in order to be able to stabilize enough, just to be able to endure, watching these trees going by, and fence posts and cars and like that. But you don't do it that way. That when I shifted to another position, I felt like I was sitting in an easy chair in my living room, and the landscape wasn't moving, and I wasn't moving, and yet I was arriving at some place. It was a most amazing experience. Does it disorient you? Are the trees whizzing by you? No, you do it too. You just don't think about it. Do you feel like you're in a precarious position while you're sitting in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
I think in general. But if you're a bad driver,
Veteran Parkway.
if you're not a good driver, then you feel always tense. But if you're a good driver, You feel like you're sitting in a comfortable chair in your own living room, and you're just driving. You're just going someplace. So this relationship changes the relationship becomes between you and your destination, and you can see things by the side of the road. But if you would go into that other place, you couldn't drive at all. Which is why I used to drive like 15, 20 miles an hour, and I'd look over the front of my bumper, over the front end of the car to see where I was driving. It was very frightening to drive down the road and look way out there. But if I look here, I felt crazy, because it was gone before I could see it. Anyway, just another example of perceptions and how we relate to our physical environment can be so very different. Feel sorry for people who come from other cultures like that. It's not so easy to adapt to the speed. And yet, if we shift our perceptions, that we can enter into a new relationship even with the speed and still feel okay. So the busyness of the world doesn't have to affect us that strongly if we work at it. However, our own pressures regarding busyness and time, those definitely affect us much more strongly what comes from our own self. Yes. So what else pressures this harmonic relationship? Yes, dear.
Coming back to it again, but I come from maybe a different background than some people here. I think earning a living, working for corporations, stockholders, the great American way of our culture, I think causes people to make decisions that they're not always at peace with.
I see. That's true. That's true. You know, when you think about it, one of the silliest symbiotic relationships that we have with our world is someone tells you, you go into that office and type on a typewriter for 8 hours, and I will give you paper.
Yeah, right.
We don't think about that relationship. And you might think my time, my life, is worth more than paper. And many people actually come to this conclusion, usually rather late in life. And they don't want to do that anymore.
And they overlook things that they know.
That's right.
They're not comfortable.
And they will do anything for paper.
It's not even paper, it's just numbers on paper.
It's just numbers. It's just the numbers on the paper. You know, I read or heard about these sad situation in Mexico with a primitive tribe called the Lancandoni Indians. Has anyone ever heard of them? They're quite remote tribe, still exist, hopefully, someplace in Mexico. I think remnants of perhaps Mayan peoples. And when these farmers came in, that just like Native American people, that they became easily addicted to alcohol. And so these Lancandoni Indians